Welcome dear audience, students and scholars. Here I'm Dr. Amjad Ali. In this video we are going to discuss about the goods market and the IS curve. Dear scholars, the IS curve plots the relationship between the interest rate and the level of income that raises in the market for the goods and services. To develop this relationship, we start with a basic model called the Keynesian cross. This model is the simplest interpretation of the Keynes theory of how national income is determined and is a building block for the more complex and realistic IS and LM model. So let's discuss about the Keynesian cross. Okay, in the general theory, Keynes proposed that an economy's total income was in the short run determined largely by the spending plans of household, businesses and the government. The more people want to spend, the more goods and services firms can sell. The more firms can sell, the more output they will choose to produce and the more workers they will choose to hire. Keynes believed that the problem during recession and depressions was inadequate spending. So the Keynesian cross is an attempt to model this insight. So let's discuss about the planned expenditure. Let's begin the derivation of the Keynesian cross by drawing a distinction between actual and planned expenditure. Actual expenditure is the amount household, firms and the government spend on goods and services. It equals the economy's gross domestic product (GDP). Planned expenditure is the amount household, firms and the government would like to spend on goods and services. So here we have one of the main questions. What would actual expenditure ever differ from planned expenditure? The answer is that the firms might engage in unplanned inventory investment because their sales do not meet their expectations. When firms sell less of their product than they planned, their stock of inventories automatically rises. Conversely, when firms sell more than planned, their stock of inventories falls. Because these unplanned changes in inventories are counted as investment spending by firms, actual expenditure can be either above or below planned expenditure. While discussion about the planned expenditure, now consider the determinants of planned expenditures. Assuming that the economy is closed, so the net exports are zero, we write planned expenditure PE as the sum of consumption, planned investment I and the government purchases G. So we have the planned expenditure PE is equal to C plus I plus G. To this equation we add the consumption function C is equal to C into Y minus T. This equation states that the consumption depends on disposable income Y minus T, which is total income minus taxes. To keep things simple, we now take planned investment as an exogenous variable or fixed variable. So here we have I is equal to I over bar. And we also assume with the help of fiscal policy that the levels of government purchases and taxes as a fix. So we have G is equal to G over bar and T is equal to T over bar. Combining these five equations, we obtain PE is equal to C into Y minus T over bar plus I over bar plus G over bar. This equation shows that planned expenditure is a function of income, the level of planned investment and the fiscal policy variable that is G over bar and T over bar. So let's see a graphical presentation for that. Planned expenditure as a function of income, we have income output Y on x-axis, we have planned expenditure PE on y-axis. So here we have upward slope line that represents our planned expenditure PE is equal to C into Y minus T over bar plus I over bar plus G over bar. So this graph shows that planned expenditure as a function of level of income. So this slope shows the upward because higher income leads to higher consumption. So here we have the marginal propensity to consume. This the slope of this line is the marginal propensity to consume. Here we have MPC. It shows that how much planned expenditure increase when income rises by $1. This planned expenditure function is the first piece of model called the Keynesian cross. So this shows that planned expenditure PE depends on income because higher income leads to higher consumption, which is part of planned expenditure. The slope of planned expenditure as a function of marginal propensity to consume, MPC. Okay, the economy in equilibrium. The next piece of Keynesian cross is the assumption that the economy is in equilibrium when actual expenditures equal the planned expenditure. This assumption is based on the idea that when people's plans have been realized, they have no reason to change what they are doing. Recalling that Y as a GDP equals not only total income but also total actual expenditure on goods and services, we can write this equilibrium condition as actual expenditure is equal to planned expenditure. We have Y is equal to PE. Now we have one of the main questions, that how does the economy gets to equilibrium? In this model, inventories play an important role in the adjustment process whenever an economy is not in equilibrium form, experience unplanned changes in inventories, and this induce them to change production levels. So changes in production in turn influence the total income and expenditure, moving the economy towards the equilibrium. So let's see a graphical presentation for that. That is Keynesian cross. We have income output Y on x-axis, and we have the expenditure, planned expenditure and actual expenditure Y on y-axis, and we have a 45-degree line that represents our actual expenditure. And with the addition of the planned expenditure function, this diagram becomes the Keynesian cross. Here we have the planned expenditure PE is equal to C into Y minus T over bar plus I over bar plus G. So the intersection of the planned expenditure and actual expenditure becomes the equilibrium point for the economy. So here at this point, the equilibrium income, and this point is denoted by A. So where we have the intersection of planned expenditure and the actual expenditure. Here 45-degree line present the actual expenditure. So the Keynesian cross shows that at this point we are in equilibrium. The equilibrium in the Keynesian cross is the point at which the actual expenditure equals the planned expenditure. Okay, for example, now that the economy finds itself with the GDP at a level greater than the equilibrium, now what the economies do? So let's see another graphical presentation for that. The adjustment to equilibrium in the Keynesian cross, we have income output on y-axis, and we have the expenditure planned and actual on y-axis, and we have the 45-degree line which represents our actual expenditure, and we have a planned expenditure curve, and this intersect our actual expenditure at this point, and this is our equilibrium income point. Suppose that the economy is at Y1. At this point we have the higher income Y1, and at this point we have unplanned inventories. Accumulation causes income to fall, and at this point actually we have that level of planned expenditure PE1. Okay, if the economy is at Y2, at this point income is Y2, but the planned expenditures are PE2 here. So if the firms are approaching at Y1, then the planned expenditure fall to PE1. Okay, this falls short of production, and the firm accumulate inventory. This inventory's accumulation induce firm to decrease production, and the firm can reach on this point A. If the firm is working on this, economy is working on this point, this will move towards this point. Similarly, if the firms are producing at Y2, then the planned expenditure here PE2 exceeds the production here, and the firms run down their inventory. This fall in inventories raises induce and the firms to increase production. In both cases, the firm decision drive the economy towards the equilibrium point, and the economy moves from Y2 to this part. So in this case, planned expenditure PE is less than the production Y1, so the firms are selling less than their producing. Firms add the unsold goods to their stock of inventory. This unplanned rise in inventories induce firm to lay off workers and reduce production. These actions in turn reduces GDP from Y1 to this point. This process of unintended inventory accumulation and falling income continues until the economy reaches on this equilibrium point. Similarly, suppose that the economy is at a lower level than the equilibrium level, such as we have here Y2. In this case, planned expenditures are greater than the production. The firm meet the higher level of sales for drawing down their inventories, but when firms see their stocks of inventories are decreasing, they hire more workers and increase production. GDP rises and the economy approaches from Y2 to that equilibrium point. So in summary, the Keynesian graph shows how income Y is determined for a given level of planned investment I and fiscal policy G and T. We can use this model to show how income changes when one of these exogenous variables change. So here we have the now discuss about the fiscal policy and the multiplier government purchases. So consider how changes in government purchases affects the economy. Because government purchases are one component of expenditure, higher government purchases result in a higher planned expenditure for any given level of income. So if government purchases rises by delta G, then the planned expenditure schedule shifts upward by delta G. So let's see a graphical presentation for that. An increase in government purchases in the Keynesian class, we have income on x-axis, we have expenditure on y-axis, and we have a 45-degree line that represents our actual expenditure, and we have here the intersection of the actual and planned expenditure is our equilibrium point. At this point we have income is equal to our planned expenditure, and we have PE1 is equal to Y1. Okay, let's see if the government rises its purchases, so that will shift the planned expenditure upward. So we have a rise in planned expenditure due to rise in government purchases. So that will shift our equilibrium income towards Y2, that is PE2 is equal to Y2. So at this point we have equilibrium B. So by raising the government purchases, we have a rise in income, and we reached on PE2 is equal to Y2. At this point now we have a planned expenditure equal to our total income. So in this case we have discussed that planned expenditure PE1 is less than the production Y1, not but sorry, it is equal than the planned expenditure. So this graph shows that an increase in government purchases leads to an even a greater increase in income, that is delta Y, which is larger than delta G. The ratio delta Y over delta G is called the government purchases multiplier. It tells us how much income rises in response to a $1 increase in government purchases. An implication of the Keynesian class is that the government purchases multiplier is larger than 1. So this graph shows that an increase in government purchases delta G raises planned expenditure, that the amount for any given level of income, and the equilibrium moves from point A to point B, and income rises from Y1 to Y2. Note that the increase in income delta Y exceeds the increase in government purchases. So see here we have the higher level of increase in income on both sides as compared to our government purchases. Thus fiscal policy has a multiplied effect on income. Okay, here we have one of the main questions, that why does fiscal policy have a multiplied effect on income? The reason is that according to the consumption function, C is equal to C into Y minus T, higher income causes higher consumption. When an increase in government purchases raises income, it also raises consumption, which further raises income, which further raises consumption, and so on. Therefore, in this model, an increase in government purchases causes a greater increase in income. So here we have one of the main questions, that how big the is this the multiplier. To answer this question, we trace through each step of the change in income. The process begins when expenditure rises by delta G, which implies that income rises by delta G as well. Okay, this increase in income in turn raises consumption by MPC cross delta G, where MPC is the marginal propensity to consume. This increase in consumption raises expenditure and income once again. The second increase in income of MPC cross delta G again raises consumption, this time by MPC cross delta G, which again raises expenditure and income, and so on. Okay, this feedback from consumption to income to consumption continues indefinitely. Okay, here we have the total effect on income is the initial change in government purchases is delta G. The first change in consumption is MPC cross delta G, and the second change in consumption MPC square cross delta G. The third change in consumption MPC cube or part 3 cross delta G. So on, this process will be continue, and we get delta Y is equal to 1 plus MPC square plus MPC cube plus so on. This process will be continue, and we have delta G. The government purchases multiplier is here delta Y over delta G is equal to 1 plus MPC square plus MPC cube plus so on. So this expression for the multiplier is an example of infinite geometric series. A result from the algebraic allows us to write the multiplier as delta Y over delta G is equal to 1 over 1 minus MPC. So for example, if the marginal propensity to consume is 0.6, the multiplier is delta Y over delta G is equal to 1 plus 0.6 plus 0.6 square plus 0.6 cube or part 3 plus so on. This process will be continue, and we get 1 over 1 minus 0.6. So we get 2.5. In this case, a $1 increase in government purchases raises equilibrium income by $2.5. So fiscal policy and the multiplier taxes. Consider now how changes in taxes affect equilibrium income. A decrease in taxes of delta T immediately raises disposable income Y minus T by delta T, and therefore increases consumption by MPC cross delta T. So let's see a graphical presentation. Before that, we discuss further that for any given level of income, Y planned expenditures is no higher. Just as an increase in government purchases has a multiplied effect on income, so does a decrease in taxes as before the initial change in expenditure. No, MPC cross delta T is multiplied by 1 over 1 minus MPC. Thus, the overall effect on income of the change in taxes is delta Y over delta T is equal to minus MPC over 1 minus MPC. So this expression here is the tax multiplier. The amount income changes in response as a $1 change in taxes. The negative sign here indicate that income moves in the opposite directions from taxes. So here, for example, if the marginal propensity to consume is 0.6, then the tax multiplier is delta Y over delta T is equal to minus 0.6 over 1 minus 0.6 is equal to minus 1.5. In this example, a $1 cut in taxes raises equilibrium income by 1.5. $5. So let's see a graphical presentations for that. A decrease in taxes in Keynesian graph. We have income on y-axis, x-axis, and we have expenditure on y-axis, and we have a 45-degree line here which represents our actual expenditure, and we have planned expenditure. We know that the intersection of actual and planned expenditure is equilibrium point, and at this point we have planned expenditure equal to our income, and we have PE1 is equal to Y1. So a cut in tax shifts the planned expenditure upward, and we have the planned expenditure curve upward, and that is MPC cross delta T. So this will increase the equilibrium income from Y1 to here PE2 is equal to Y2, and we are now at equilibrium point B here. So at this point we have planned expenditure equal to our income. PE2 is equal to Y2. So a decrease in taxes of delta T raises planned expenditure by MPC cross delta T. For any given level of income, the equilibrium moves from point A to point B, raises the income from Y1 to Y2, like both sides. Again, fiscal policy has a multiplied effect on income. The interest rate, investment, and the IS curve. So let's draw the IS curve. The Keynesian class is only a stepping stone on our path to the ISLM model, which explains the economy's aggregate demand curve. The Keynesian class is useful because it shows how the spending plans of household firms and the government determine the economy's income, yet it makes the simplifying assumption that the level of planned investment I is fixed. Okay, to add this relationship between the interest rate and investment to our model, we write the level of planned investment as I is equal to IR. Okay, to determine how income changes when interest rate changes, we can combine the investment function with the Keynesian cross diagram, because investment is inversely related to the interest rate. An increase in the interest rate from R1 to R2 reduces the quantity of investment from IR1 to IR2. The reduction in planned investment in turn shifts the planned expenditure function downward. So let's see a graphical presentation for that. Okay, driving the IS curve here. Here we have the investment function. We have investment on x-axis, and we have the interest rate on y-axis, and we have the investment curve here, IR, and we have a lower interest rate, IR1. At this point we have that amount of investment, IR1. So by raising the interest rate, an increase in interest rate will shift the investment, or we can say that decreases the investment lower the planned investment to IR2. So we know that the Keynesian cross here, we have income output on x-axis and we have expenditure on y-axis, and we have the 45-degree line that represents our actual expenditure, and we have a planned expenditure, and that planned expenditure 1, and at this point we are in equilibrium. At this point we have y1. Okay, as we have highlighted that by reducing by the reduction in investment will also reduces our planned expenditure. So planned expenditure shift downward, and we reached on this point. So we have a lower planned expenditure, and that intersect our actual expenditure on this point, and we have a reduced level of income, so which lower our income from y1 to y2. So let's draw the IS curve here, that is our C part. So we have income output on y-axis, and we have the interest rate on, we have the income output on x-axis, and we have interest rate on y-axis. And if we take that interest rate to this part and that output to this part, we get that intersection. And if we increase the interest rate, and that will be shifted towards this part, at this point we have y1, and if we take rises interest rate to this part, we get this, and if we shift the decrease in income to this part, we get this intersection. So by joining this intersection and this intersection, here we have reduced income, and by joining this part and this intersection, we get IS curve. So here the IS curve summarize these changes in the goods market at equilibrium. So here we have panel A shows the investment function, an increase in the interest rate here from R1 to R2 reduces the planned investment from IR1 to IR2, and in panel B shows the Keynesian cross, a decrease in planned investment. So here planned investment, a decrease in planned investment, decreases the planned investment from IR2 to from IR1 to IR2, shifted the planned expenditure from 1 to 2. This will reduces the national income from Y1 to Y2. So panel C shows the IS curve, which summarizes the relationship between interest rate and income. The higher the interest rate, the lower level of income. So we have here the higher level of interest rate, and we have the lower level of income. So this whole discussion shows that IS curve is downward slope here, because we have the negative relationship between the interest rate and income. So here we have one of the main questions, that how fiscal policy shifts the IS curve. The IS curve shows us for any given interest rate the level of income that brings the goods market into equilibrium, As we learn from the Keynesian cross, the equilibrium level of income also depends on government spending G and taxes T. The IS curve is drawn for a given fiscal policy. That is, when we construct the IS curve, we hold G and T fixed. When fiscal policy changes, the IS curve shifts. So let's see a graphical presentation for that. An increase in government purchases shifts the IS curve outward. So here we have the Keynesian cross. We have output income on x-axis, and we have the expenditure on y-axis, and we have the 45-degree line which represents our actual expenditure, and here we have the planned expenditure 1, and at this point we have income y1. So an increase in government purchases shifted the expenditure delta y2 upward, and we have planned expenditure 2 here. This will increases or rises the income from y1 to y2. So the rise in income by delta G over 1 minus MPC. So we have y2 here. So let's see what happened to the IS curve with an increase in government purchases. So we have output income on x-axis, and we have interest rate on our y-axis, and we have IS1 curve, and at this point we have y1, and we have a fixed interest rate here. So this planned expenditure will rises the income, and that will shift our IS curve, shift the IS curve to the right by delta G over 1 minus MPC, and we get IS2 here. And at this point we have the fixed interest rate, and we have the higher level of income, that is y2. So this Keynesian cross shows that how an increase in government purchases shifts the IS curve. This diagram, for any given interest rate, we have the fixed interest rate, and that's for a given level of planned investment. The Keynesian cross is in panel A. Here we have the panel A, shows that a change in fiscal policy raises the planned expenditure 1 to planned expenditure 2, and thereby increase in income from y1 to y2. Therefore in panel B here, the increase in government purchases shifted the IS curve, IS1 to IS2 outward. We can use the Keynesian cross to see how other changes in fiscal policy shift the IS curve, because a decrease in taxes also expand expenditure and income is to shift the IS curve outward. A decrease in government purchases or an increase in taxes reduces the income. Therefore, such a change in fiscal policy shifts the IS curve to downward, or we can say inward. Okay, let's conclude the discussion. In summary, the IS curve shows the combination of interest rate and the level of income that are consistent with the equilibrium in the market for the goods and services. The IS curve is drawn for a given fiscal policy. Changes in fiscal policy that raises the demand for goods and services shift the IS curve to the rightward. changes in the fiscal policy that reduces the demand for goods and services shift the IS curve to the leftward. So this is all about the goods market and the IS curve. We have draw the IS curve with the help of Keynesian cross and with the help of our investment function. So we also see the effect of fiscal policy on the IS curve. So see you with another video. Ciao.